Man, it has been a minute since I've recorded anything. But have you recently been instilled with a sense of fear from anything that's been going on around you? Because I may have a perceptional shift in thinking that might help you. And perception is reality, baby. You stick around, I think this way of thinking can really help you. So let me tell you how this started. Me and my girlfriend were talking. Called her from the way home, and we were just talking. She sounded a bit scared over the phone. You know, she could tell she had a bit of a rough day. And, you know, we're talking. I'm like, what's going on? Typical seeing if your girl's all right kind of thing. And she's worried about tariffs, okay? Tariffs affecting some of the sales that is a part of her business, all right? And so, you know, I'm telling her it's going to be all right. But as I gave her my way of thinking about this to alleviate some of her stress, I figured out a solution that might just work for everybody, okay? So when she was telling me about this, I said, hey, if a $60,000 car only is going to cost, right? But if a $60,000 car is going to cost $3,000 to $4,000 more dollars, how much more really is this certain thing? I don't want to give off too many details, but how much is this certain thing that you sell going to cost more, really? Like, is it going to cost $10 more dollars? Say the product cost $500 out the door. Is it going to cost $50 more dollars? So obviously, you know, they're going to have to mark up the price just a little bit because prices go up. You know, prices go up obviously a little bit to account for inflation. Things go up $2-3 every year, whatever. You can barely tell. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but you can barely tell. And so what I did was I basically lessened the seriousness of the matter, okay? What I did was a perceptional shift in thinking. Nothing's changed. I can't make the tariffs go away, but I can change the way you think about them, all right? It is only a couple bucks more for this. It is only a couple bucks more for that. And so this calmed her out a bit. You know, I was like, hey, you're obviously going to have to mark up the costs. You may have to get rid of only one of your most lazy associates that is, you know, sucking up the payroll. You can free up some money letting one of these gals go that just gets paid to sit on TikTok all day. But then this got extrapolated a bit as I was talking to her. It got extrapolated into something far larger that I could apply on a far more broad of a spectrum. On a broader spectrum, what I mean by that, this overarching idea and this perceptional shift. I told her all of a sudden, halfway through the drive, I said, you cannot play into the fear of the masses. You cannot play into the retarded fear of the masses. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, all right, hold on, let me explain. What if I told you that there is a virus on its way from a lab in China. It is very serious, only it's not. I make it out to be far, far more dangerous than it actually is. News gets spread that it is going to flood into our country and possibly injure a lot of people. So, what do the masses do? They get scared. What happens when a majority of people get scared? They're easy to control, okay? You make everybody scared, they're easy to control. All right, where are you going with this? Now that you're scared, I tell you the only way to help yourself and everybody around you and your grandmother is to take a vaccine. And so then everybody goes and takes this vaccine that has now been proven to be bullshit. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now, everybody is scared of rising prices. You are filled with angst and fear that makes you very easy to control. So I said, baby, stop playing into the fear of the masses, because this makes you easily controllable. The perceptional shift solution in thinking in this particular issue, because again, your perception of life is key. It can, from what it seems, just create your own fucking reality. What if I told you, instead of eating a steak at that Mitchell's Steakhouse, you instead get the chicken carbonara? Just in the 4 times you go in a month, twice. How much does that save you? 40, 50, 60 bucks? Great. What if I told you you don't need that 5th pair of yoga pants you're getting ready to impulse buy? What if I told you that you can hold off on that video game that's backlogged and is the 10th one you haven't finished? And that saves you, hell, what are they going to start being after Nintendo pulls its shit? 80 bucks? Is the tariff and the increase in price really that big of a fucking deal? I really need you to think hard about this. Can you keep yourself from buying shit you don't need to? That way you may spare another $4 on some eggs. I do not mean to downplay the financial struggles that can come out of inflation and tariffs and shit like this. But you need to analyze for yourself whether it's really as serious as you think it is. Really analyze it. Is another $4 on eggs going to kill you? Is holding off on that t-shirt going to kill you? Is it really as serious as you think it is? Are you going to play into everybody's fears? Are you going to be fucking infected just like everybody else? Okay? Are you going to freak out about the price of eggs? Are you? You're telling me there's nothing you can do to figure it out? You're telling me there's not one small thing you can give up to get some fucking eggs? Sorry about that. My mic went out and that was annoying. Just ran out of battery right towards the end there when I was really peaking at making my point, but that's all right. This is me like a week later. Got a little bit of time to finish that out. But like I was saying, there are things you can do to mitigate the stresses coming from everybody else in society. All right, that hive mind fear that gets passed around by, I'm just going to speak honestly, just a majority of fools that are easy to control from fear. You really got to try not to play into that, because that will control you. That main point I was making was that you can simply use a simple perspective to downplay the stresses of these things. And since perspective can meld your reality, then almost downplaying the severity of the rising prices will reduce the severity of the rising prices to you. I was mentioning, you know, there's nothing you can do. You're telling me like there's nothing you can do, right? Like you can't give up a certain thing there, or cut back a certain thing here. That's bare minimum what you can do. You know, like it'll be up to you however you want to mitigate that situation, but to just stew in your angst, fueled by everybody else and sources outside from your own head. Like, guy, that is pretty fucking stupid. You know, not only that, not only the, you know, I'm fairly certain if you give up buying a t-shirt, you can afford eggs for the next 2 weeks, okay? Give up buying something to, you know, have enough money for something else that's important. But here's a bit of a news flash. There are people prior to the interest, prior to the tariffs, that have not had a cent to their goddamn name, and they have been living on the streets and making it out just fine. We've got a prime example of people who choose to live that way. That before and currently to whatever the hell's going on right now in the States, are making it out just fine, okay? Speaking bluntly here, there are men and women out there who barely eat a goddamn thing, barely sip on some water, and literally use their will to get their next dose of whiskey and crack. That will alone, like, gets them through everything, okay? And so if a person like that can make it out there, you know, in the searing heat, in a makeshift tarp tent, then what is the current climate doing to deter you? Really think about that. You know, simple will, you know, a bottle of whiskey and some drugs, and these people can just keep going as tough as cockroaches, you know? That is just incredible. And I do literally mean that right now. Like, sure, like a tenth of me is using a bit of sarcasm, but like, I am being dead ass. Their tenacity, you can learn from that. And if they don't have a fucking cent to their name, and we're all out here worrying about eggs, what the fuck does that make us? It makes us idiots. Okay? So just rounding it up, rounding it off. All right? Don't play into the fear. Don't get controlled by it. There's always something you can fucking do. And there's always people out there with so much less than you that are surviving. And if they can, you can do more than. All right? Done.